Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our May Council meeting. I would now ask Councillor Greg James to do a welcome to country.
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe and my fellow councillors. Firstly, I pay respects to my ancestors and I acknowledge our elders, both past, present and emerging. I acknowledge the Yorta nations and all its people whose land we meet on today. A welcome to country is an honour and a privilege, Mayor, and I thank my Elders Council for the opportunity to do this on our lands. So on behalf of the Yorta Elders Council, the 16 family groups and the 8 tribes who share in the status of traditional owners, I say a very warm welcome to this wonderful land and country and waterways. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta peoples of the land, which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respect to their tribal elders, we celebrate their continuing culture and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 3, which is our privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page and made available for public access on our website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor to the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes. Governance principles. Council considers that the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9/2 of the Local Government Act 2020. These principles are listed from 1 to 9 in the agenda. Item 5, apologies. Do we have any apologies today, councillors? Councillor Sali?
Yeah, I'm happy to note the apologies of Councillor Jeff Dobson and Councillor Fern Summer.
Thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest that need to be declared?
Oh, yes, Mayor. I'd like to declare an interest in relation to item 14.2. It's my annual review report.
Thank you very much. And I also wish to declare a conflict of interest for item 12.2, the interim report on the Shepparton CBD complementary parking initiative. Confirmation of minutes, item 7. Is there any item of the minutes to be opposed? Would someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Sali?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor O'Keefe. I'm happy to move the minutes of the 19 April 2022 council meeting as circulated be confirmed.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brophy. All those in. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Motion carried unopposed. Item 8, public question time. Mr. Harriet, we do have some questions that have come into council.
Thank you. We do. We have four questions. The first question is from Brian Dunn. I notice that Brian's in the gallery today. Welcome, Brian. What is the worth of all the art owned by Shepparton Council? The value of art owned by Greater Shepparton City Council is $20 million, close enough. I'll round that up. So it's a significant asset. Question 2, what would be the annual cost of street lighting across the Greater Shepparton area? Council spends approximately $700,000 per annum on street lighting, and this includes maintenance and usage. And in the 21-22 budget, there's $350,000 for maintenance and $300,000 for usage. Question 3 is from Heather Dunn, and this question asks about traffic calming. I have concerns with the speeds of vehicles passing down my street in Waranga Drive. From Kayla Lakes Drive to Dartmouth Court, travelling on Waranga Drive, there is one roundabout, speed limit 50 kilometres per hour. Most vehicles are well in excess. From Dartmouth further around Waranga Drive, there is traffic calming in abundance. It needs to be reviewed. So the response there is we are aware of traffic issues in Waranga Drive and recently collected traffic counts between Kyle Lakes Drive and Dartmouth Court, which showed average speeds of 51 kilometres per hour and an 85th percentile speed of 58 kilometres per hour. We are currently investigating the installation of speed treatments such as speed cushions and splitter islands in Waranga Drive. And this is subject to funding, we are planning to include in our traffic devices program an allocation for 22-23 financial year. The final question, again from Heather Dunn. We are new to the area and find it hard to navigate the streets due to a lack of street signage. The new intersection of Maud and Vaughan Street lacks any street signs, as just one example. So, yeah, thanks Heather and John for noting that. As part of any development, street signs should be installed as part of this process. So we note your comments about Maud and Vaughan, and we'll do a review there and rectify that matter as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 9, deputations and petitions, nil received. Item 10, community directorate, nil received. Councillors, on page 8, item 11.1, councillors standing as candidates in state or federal elections policy. There is a recommendation also on page 8. Would a council like to move the motion? So no one wishes to move that? Okay, that item has lapsed. Councillors, we now go to page 11, item 11.2, April 2022 monthly financial report. Our recommendation there on page 11. Would a council like to move a motion? Councillor Abdullah?
Okay, I would like to move the recommendation as a motion that the council receive and note the April 2022 monthly financial report.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that motion. Thank you, Mary Keith.
Councillor Sally. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
So thank you. Very quickly, this is our regular meeting agenda item where we assess and note the monthly financial report. So for the April 2022 monthly financial report, all the report looks satisfactory. Indicators are also included, financial indicators that are included in the report are all satisfactory. They are within the target bands. And of course, there will be movements, further movements as we go along in the financial year, in this financial year. One point to be noted is that in that the capital works program of $63.44 million, which was forecast to be spent during the 2021-2022 financial year, there has been a decrease of $8.14 million. Which is basically due to the reason that certain items have been rebudgeted into the next financial year. So other than that, yes, all the details are there, and of course, if you look at the income statement and capital works statement, you can see a detailed list of all the items where there have been favorable variances or unfavorable variances. And of course, favorable variances in the income statement means that where in the budget we had budgeted for more revenue, but in actual case, looking at the current statements, the revenue has been less than the budget. And for expenses, of course, it's the other way around. We budgeted to spend more, but in actual terms, we have spent less. So it's a favorable variance for us. But in this context, yeah, I would encourage everyone to have a look at the financial statement and see some of the interesting information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sally, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, thank you, Councillor Abdullah, for that. Very detailed as always, so it makes it very easy for me to follow on with that. But look, things are going okay at the moment, and no doubt things will start to ramp up in regards to the end of financial year, especially around our capital works program as well. So it'll be good to see as many projects as possible being achieved by then. But I just want to also mention as well that we obviously have our 22-23 budget coming upon us for finalisation, and a big part of that is community consultation around that, and that ends on the 26th of this month. So please, if you're interested in making a submission of any sort, please do that, and we look forward to finalising that next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would any councillor wish to speak against the motion? Would a councillor wish to speak to the motion? We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 14, item 11.3, contracts awarded under delegation for April 2022. There is also a recommendation on page 14. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor James?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. Yes, I'd like to move the motion, the recommendation 11.3, contracts awarded under delegation, April 2022 on page 14. I'd like to read the recommendation out. It's That the council, 1, note the contracts awarded under delegation pursuant to a formal tender process for the reporting period, and 2, note the request for tender advertised but not yet awarded.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor.
Sorry, go.
If you like. Thank you. Councillor Sarley.
Thank you. I'll second that motion, Mayor O'Keefe.
Councillor James, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. Contract awarded under delegated authority by the CEO, Director or Manager. There is 1 in that category, and this is to supply and install power upgrades at events at Victoria Park Lake. The successful tender for that was Waters Electrical. The second part of the recommendation is requests for tenders advertised but not yet awarded. There are 7 requests, Mayor O'Keefe, for this, and they include, some of these include recycling, organic transfer and disposal, cleaning services for the Sand Building, intersection upgrades, Lancaster, Marutina, Davies Road, the Murchison Rail Trail Bridge Stage 1 upgrade. So they were just a couple of the 7 requests, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sarley, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very briefly, not much more to add to what Councillor James has highlighted, with only 1 project obviously being awarded, but I will just make note of the that is within the agenda that states that the tender for contract 2007 with regards to the repair of the Katandra Hall has been abandoned. So I'll just make mention of that as well.
Any councillor wish to speak against the motion? The councillor wish to speak to the motion? We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 17, item 12.1, Community Sustainability Grants Round 2 for 2021-2022. There is also a recommendation on page 17. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. I'd like to move the recommendation that the council note the successful applicants awarded funding under the delegated authority for round 2 of the 2021-22 Community Sustainability Grants Program as follows, and the 2 organisations being the Kingupna Telegarupna Landcare Group, which is nearly $3,000 worth, and Transition to Tura, which is $3,000 worth.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Abdullah? Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. The first one being the Kingupna Telegarupna Landcare Group. This is really to upgrade the project's called Sustaining Pony Paddock Park, which is really adjacent to the primary school and not far from the Memorial Oval as well at Kingupna there, and across the road from the shops. Fantastic location, it is well used, and it really just needs a bit of an upgrade, particularly of the native plants that exist there for identification and signage, and other maintenance that needs to be required as well. So very much a worthy organisation to get this particular funding. And the other one being Transition to Tura. Now this is the project called A More Self-Sufficient to Tura, a film festival, and the film festival will focus on self-sufficiency and include short films, competitions, and an opportunity for people to get together and learn more about climate change and what they can do to be more sustainable. The project itself, they were to run it last year. They were successful in round 1 of the 2020 and 21 financial year for this particular grant. Unfortunately, due to COVID, they weren't able to hold this, and so they went to an online event, but they had some leftover funding as well. So we've topped it up again with further $3,000. So this will include, for this particular film festival, speakers' fees, catering for attendees, and obviously the hire of the facilities in Victory Hall in Tatura. So looking forward to it. So get your popcorn and jappers ready for when they roll that out.
Sounds good. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I'm very pleased to see that council is supporting our community to understand and bring more awareness around the sustainability related actions, which everybody can take, but as a community there is an option, there is an incentive in the form of these grants to undertake sustainable projects and events and raise that awareness. So I just want to highlight that the council has allocated a budget of $25,000 to this program, but if you look at the The current, we have only 2 applications in this round, and in the previous round also, we were able to spend only $380. So all in all, we have, I think, spent around 5,000, 6,000, not more than that, out of a budget of $25,000. So I would hope that going forward for this grant, for this program, council would look into certain factors that are responsible for this sort of this response. We would want to have a better response in terms of applications for these grants, because this is a wonderful opportunity for community and the community groups to undertake these sustainable projects. So yeah, so my only point is that I'm a bit concerned about the uptake. It's not as as good as we would want to be, but hopefully going forward there'll be better outcomes. That's all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would a councillor wish to speak to the motion? We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now come to item 12.2, the proposed lease of council land for affordable housing, request for kids under cover. The recommendation is also on page 23, which is quite a lengthy recommendation. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor Abdullah?
Yeah, I would like to move the recommendation on page 23 of the agenda as a motion.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brophy?
I second that, Mayor O'Keefe.
Thank you very much. Councillor Abdullah, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you. Just to start with a little bit of background. So this is about this project undertaken by Kids Undercover, which is a not-for-profit organization. And through their Village 21 program, they provide accommodation and education scholarships to young people between the age of 18 to 21 years, and those young people who are at risk of homelessness. And their model of affordable housing basically aims to enable the successful transition of kids from out-of-home care program to independent living. In early 2022, Kids Undercover had made inquiries about council's vacant land and buildings for the project, and out of various options that were presented to them, they chose this particular block of land, as their preferred option, which is 4 Dean Court. Now, why does council need to attend to those inquiries? I just want to sort of just elaborate on that one, because it is a well-known fact that we need more of these projects, given that Shepparton has the highest rates of homelessness, youth unemployment, substance abuse, young pregnancies, and all of those issues. So, and also, if you look at our council's strategies in this area, we have in 2020 we developed Housing First affordable housing strategy, which basically provided the strategic direction to the council to address this affordable housing and social housing issue through a variety of actions. And it was also pointed out that there was a need in our municipality, there is a need for diversity of housing types and sizes in residential growth corridors. Furthermore, our council plan also supports this vision and objective that asks for the well-being and social responsibility vision for our council, and it aims to leave no one behind, which means that we need to support our vulnerable groups and people in the community. So basically, in the context of all of this, these strategic directions and the ground realities, council officers, of course, have examined this request for the lease and made a recommendation. So this report recommends that the council initiate the community engagement process for council's intent to lease 4 Dean Court and invite public submission for this intent. Section 115 of Local Government Act requires council to undertake a community consultation process for assets that are intended to lease for 10 years or more, and this particular potential lease is in this category, hence we need to go through that community consultation process. But we need to make it very clear that the council,
Time.
can I have just more minutes? Thank you.
That's 6, or was that 3 minutes?
3.
3 minutes, yeah, okay, good, thank you. So just wanted to highlight that council will make the final decision about the lease only after completing the community consultation process and considering all submissions that will be received as a part of this process. So this particular motion is about initiating that process, that if there's an intent to lease this, this site, then we have to go through this process. So again, for the community, it's important to understand that there is a need for social and affordable housing, and this particular project is going to provide provide this support to our young people, and it will basically provide this timely support so that we can reduce the likelihood of these young people to slip into a crisis situation or a long-term homelessness situation. Now that's about the project, and my consideration about the location of the land is that the size of this, this particular land is, yes, it is in general residential zone. It makes it appropriate for this project. I personally think that it's a bit far from the CBD and other amenities. So, and given that the local public transport system is also inadequate, so I was a bit concerned that this may disadvantage young residents, but that's all right if the project organization has considered all the factors and they have preferred this site. So let's see how we can support them. One more question that I want to raise is that, and we have had discussions on this, is that it is encouraging to see that so many applications for social housing projects, affordable housing projects are coming our way, and so we need to see whether council needs to now develop a strategy about using its vacant land and buildings to address this affordable housing projects. Of course, that strategy should cover all aspects, including audit of council's current land and buildings, establishing the criteria for eligibility of a site for social housing projects, and then what factors should be considered by council in assessing these requests. And then should there be a role for the affordable housing reference group in advising council on a case-by-case basis. So all of these, I would hope and I would like to have to be covered in a formal, concrete strategy. And in closing, I would just say that I hope that this matter is considered with empathy for a broader community-wide need to reduce homelessness and support our young people, so that they don't slip into homelessness.
Right on time.
Perfect. That's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. It certainly won't be as comprehensive as Councillor Abdullah, but I'll get to the point. So in seconding that, look, this is it's a proposed lease very much on council land for affordable housing, and the request is from Kids Undercover. That's what the emphasis is. It's a prototype for perhaps future housing development down the track, and well supported. It's a proven program. It's vacant land that's not being utilised currently at the moment, and it is supported, exceptionally supported, a social housing project that we have here, affordable housing. It aligns very strongly with the Greater Shepparton affordable housing strategy. And this really is just, this forecast here, or the proposed recommendation that's put here, really signposts for the consultation period to go forward from here onwards. So I encourage those who wish to put forward a submission to do so, be that supportive or against the proposal. But very much welcome that, and very much endorse this particular recommendation going forward.
Thank you very much. Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would a councillor like to speak to the motion? We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to item 12.3, the interim report on the Shepparton CBD complementary parking initiative. Due to my conflict, I will leave the chair and ask Councillor Brophy to please take the note.
Okay, thank you. So item 12.3 is on page 31. There is a recommendation on page 31. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor James?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Brophy, I'd like to move the recommendation 12.3, the interim report on the Shepparton CBD complementary parking initiative, and I'll read out the recommendation. The recommendation reads that the council note that progress of the report on the merits of the complementary CBD parking initiative undertaken between the 1st November 2021 and the 28th of February 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spinks. Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor James?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brophy. Yes, I'll just give you some background, some brief background information. Council has trialled a number of complementary parking initiatives within the CBD over the years with the aim of increasing economic activity and improving the visitor experience to the CBD, which is really important in regards to our city. This has often resulted in council resolving to initiate complementary parking in the CBD during the Christmas and January holiday periods. Most recently at the council meeting held on the 19th of October 2021, council resolved to provide complementary parking in the CBD between the 1st of November 2021 and 28th of February 2022. At the conclusion of this most recent complementary parking initiative, council resolved at the council meeting held on the 15th of February 2022 to prepare a comprehensive report that assesses the merits of the most complementary parking initiative and analyse the financial cost to council. The report is to be presented to the council meeting no later than the council meeting to be held in May 2022, which is this current meeting, Deputy Mayor. This report provides an interim update as to progress of the preparation of this report, which will be considered by council at the council meeting to be held in June 2022. Council officers have commissioned multiple background studies to inform the preparation of this report, including parking, economic transaction and council financial data to assess the merits and economic impact of the complementary parking initiative. Due to the delays associated with COVID-19, Deputy Mayor, a whole range of issues have weighed up or contributed to that report not being prepared at this council meeting. Council standard procurement processes and the availability of consultants have contributed to this. The data needed to inform the comprehensive report will not be made available to council officers until the end of April, which is where we are now, with council officers needing time to collate and consider the findings of the data and to formulate the recommendations to council. The report will not be tabled for consideration at the May council meeting. Instead, council officers intend to present the report at the council meeting to be held in June 2022. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor James. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Just briefly, Councillor James covered it so well, but basically just to highlight that ultimately this is a report about a report. At the end of the day, council is a collection of humans and life gets in the way and this got delayed. So this is, I greatly appreciate that this report's been brought to us to just say, hey, look, we didn't deliver it, but we're working on it and that's okay. We can understand human beings. We look forward to it coming in June. If anyone out there thinks our meeting's moving pretty quickly, next month, get ready, we're coming for you. So ultimately, I'm happy to support this report that it will bring us a report at the next meeting. So that's pretty much the summary of this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would any councillor like to speak for the motion? Okay, just prior to going to the vote on that, given the fact that it was my particular nomination or notice of motion that was put forward in February, I'd just like to make a couple of comments. One, there was a third point to the notice of motion that I put forward, which was that noted that a media release be developed to explain to the public what was actually the finishing of that current initiative at the time, and the consideration for the future complementary parking and how that's going to play out. We probably didn't need to necessarily do the media release because the local newspaper ran on the front page anyway, so we do appreciate that. But can I say that council officers have provided with both myself being the nominator and other councillors an understanding and why they were seeking an extension to this particular report and provided an interim report in the meantime. We very much need to be informed, to have the analysis, to have the data, and to have the survey results all come to hand, and to then form a genuine consideration of what the complementary parking looks like, for or against, and how we go. I was somewhat disappointed that the interim report didn't forecast any possible fiscal outcomes, but understanding that once we do get that information back there, it will still give us time to consider prior to the 2022-2023 budget, whether there is any consideration to be considered into that or not. So very satisfied with that, and understandably, like every other industry, under pressure to get people to get things done on time due to COVID and to lack of numbers in most industries. So, but certainly happy to bring it up for next month. Thank you. Now, we will go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll ask the Mayor to come back in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillors will now go to item 13.1, contract number 2232, the Victorian Park Lake pedestrian lighting. There is also a recommendation on page 36. Would the council like to move a motion?
I'm happy to move that motion. Thank you, Mary Keith. On page 36 of the agenda, item 13.1.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Spinks?
Sure.
Councillor Sally, would you like to speak to the motion?
Briefly, I will, thank you. This is obviously a really big investment into an upgrade of pedestrian lighting around Vic Park Lake, and the total cost of the project is just over $770,000, which more importantly will go to a local contractor being Byers Electrical, so congratulations to that local company getting that work, which is really important. It will see 64 new light poles being installed, with work also being done to underground infrastructure to support the new lights. And just look, really in closing, in my opinion, Vic Park Lake gives Shepparton one of, if not the best entrance into any regional city that I've ever seen. And this lighting upgrade will obviously continue to enhance that space, which is important. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, and only to add as well the element of safety that it will increase around it as well. I think that Councillor Sally covered it completely with just that extra addition of countless members of our public use that space, and we want to make sure that they're using it safely and comfortably, and this will add that sort of element to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would a councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. My only comment in regards to that wasn't in regards to the Victoria Park Lake per se, but in regards to the tenderers. And it was great to see the tenderers that came forward, two being Greater Shepparton based and one not too far away from Bendigo Way. So terrific to see that the tenderers are local, they are putting in for it, they are getting the contracts. It just means that people are employed locally, and that if they're employed locally and they stay here and their kids go to school here, and it's a great circular economy in that sense. So really pleased, and Byers Electrical started out so small, family business, really very, very pleased to see them get this particular tender.
Thank you very much. Would any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? I might just add comment that we also had feedback from the community as well in regard to the need of this extra lighting. We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors will now go to page 40, item 13.2, our Sporting Future Funding, round 2 for 2021-2022. There is recommendation on pages 40 and 41. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. I'd like to move the recommendation that council note the successful applicants awarded funding under the delegated authority for round 2 of the 2021-22 Our Sporting Future funding program as follows. Under the Our Major Sporting Future, the major projects, recipients, I won't go through what they were awarded, but the recipients were Greater Valley Calisthenics Club, the Shepparton and District Car Club. Under the minor grants, went to the Telegarupna Football Netball Club, the Marutina Football Netball Club, and the Shepparton Rowing Club. The sports aid went to the Shepparton Feathers Incorporated and the Shepparton Table Tennis Association.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else wish to speak to the motion? We will now go to the vote. Oh, sorry, did I miss someone? Oh, sorry. 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 You actually read it all out.
It's a really long recommendation.
Sorry, I'll call for a seconder, please, for that motion. Sorry about that. Councillor Springs, thank you very much. Now, Councillor Broker, would you like to add further comment?
Look, you know, people who've read this on page 40 can go through the individual projects, but there were a couple that I pointed out there. Great to see the football netball clubs up and running this particular season. Good to see Telegarupna Football Club. It was money awarded to it for a trainer's ice machine after their loss last weekend. No doubt they've used it all week, so that would be good. Obviously the netball courts at the Marutina Recreation Reserve. I was there the other week, and fantastic facilities there, but the lighting, secured lighting, will certainly help enormously the people playing netball there. And just on the other one, I was intrigued, the Shep Feathers Incorporated. I thought, you know, what particular sporting group is this? It's badminton, of course. So, you know, and they received for badminton equipment as well, nearly $2,500. So, you know, these particular funding rounds are so important to clubs, be it big or small, and really keep them ticking over, and particularly post-COVID, getting people out back playing sport and being active again is just incredibly important. So really happy to see this funding round get up.
Thank you very much. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly to congratulate this round on a huge range of sports, huge range of towns they're going to, and a huge range of purposes that they're all going to as well. I think it speaks to the flexibility of the grant, that it's been designed in a way that can benefit so many clubs in so many ways. And it's just a testament to how important sport is to regional communities and how well Greater Shepparton does that. So I think it's just a congratulations all round.
Thank you very much. Would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would a councillor wish to speak to the motion? Just before going to the vote, I think it's also worth noting, Councillor Brophy mentioned the badminton club, the Feathers Incorporated. They've gone from about 30 members up to over 200 members. So it's really great to see the growth of sporting clubs happening and that we can, you know, support them in this way.
We will be very happy.
Yes, Mike will be very happy. All right, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 48, item 13.3, the Marutina Recreation Reserve Master Plan and the final adoption. There is also a recommendation on page 48. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor Sali?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. I'll move the recommendation as a motion on page 48 of the agenda, item 13.3.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor James? Thank you very much. Councillor Sali, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. Yes. So look, obviously last year we had the opportunity to endorse the Takshura Park Master Plan, and that was a good learning opportunity for me to see how much work is involved in bringing that together. And obviously now we get to finalise the Marutina Rec Reserve Master Plan as well. So like all master plans, you open up the door to so many things making its way onto a list, and all user groups of the facility do their best to work together to get the ball rolling on projects that can help benefit all. And this is obviously an updated master plan. I think it's from 2008, so things have sort of progressed in the needs and wants of the many user groups moving forward. My personal knowledge of Marutina is a bit more isolated to the football and netball club, and that has been previously led very well by Darren Hall, and now more recently by Bill Dowling, who provides great advocacy for all things Marutina, which is important. They have a strong foundation that can continue to be built on, but when I look at the list, it's a broad range of requests across a number of user groups that share that facility there as well. And the master plan gives a number of priorities on a list of developments. And I might just go through a few of them because we have 7 high priorities, 9 medium priorities and 1 low priority. And just, one high priority is, new change rooms on the northern side for the football and netball use. Another high priority is the upgrade to the existing sports stadium. We also have a medium priority, which is demolish the old hockey change rooms, and once that is done, to obviously construct a new building as well. Another medium priority is to provide an off-leash dog walking area at the harness racing facility, and the only low priority is the upgrade to the harness facilities, which is stables and a few other things associated with that space there as well. I will also mention that the Marutina Rec is only 4K from the Shepparton CBD, so connectivity is good, and the expansion of this space is definitely warranted. So, like all master plans, it now offers direction for some time ahead of us and offers greater stability around priorities of those user groups. And just in closing, it is impossible for council to put anything in place without the support of the Marutina Rec user groups, and a master plan brings everyone together to work towards funding, which effectively is the only way these things are achieved. So looking forward to seeing the rollout of this, and hopefully some good things are achieved.
Thank you very much. Councillor James, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. Just very quickly, briefly, it was great to see that the 17 submissions were received in that community consultation. That just highlights the passion that the community extremely passionate about their sporting complex. They are a very proud sporting community within Marutina region, and have been for quite some time. And there are lots and lots of facilities run within that complex. And it started off as the actual oval itself had the trotting track within the oval. So it's how it's evolved and expanded from there. And it's because the population has grown too as well. But it's just amazing when, recently we had the Fire Brigade, the Nationals were over there, and the ground was just absolutely stunning, and the facilities over there are expanded on a yearly basis. The football club, the cricket club have done a remarkable job in regards to top to looking after the lawns. The council have jointly been involved in that process too as well. It's just looking remarkable, and I really am looking forward to the next phase in the master plan. So I welcome the master plan and welcome where we're going in regards to the adoption of that, and see how it actually transpires from here onwards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor James, would any councillor like to speak against the motion? Would a councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. Just on the comments of both Councillor Nasali and Councillor James, that what a tremendous community that Marutina are, and particularly the sporting community over there. From veterans right through to the young people out and about there. I go over there for many things. I go there for the football, the netball, there's the cricket, there's the tennis, there's the bowls next door, there's the trotting there. Just so many activities that formulate that particular precinct, and it's perhaps a little bit undervalued by other people in the community, that they don't realise that, we look at the wonderful ones that we have at the sporting precinct in Shepparton, but the ones in Marutina are really coming along, and this master plan will really put finishing touches to that. Like Councillor James, I was certainly at the Fire Brigade competitions over there as well, going back a month or so back, and the compliments to the ground staff there. The oval particularly, you could just roll the jack out there. It was just so smooth and so fantastic. So they do a great job, but it really does come down to all those user groups and their volunteers. And after the volunteer awards that were last night, you really do take your hat off to all the volunteers through all the different sports and all the different user groups, and you know how hard they work. And collaboratively, Marutina have really got their act together. So well done.
Thank you very much. Would any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight that this, as Councillor Sali said, this is not about, a master plan does not give promises of what action will be taken, but it gives vision for the space and what will take place hopefully down the track. And if we didn't have a plan, we wouldn't have any direction. So this is why this is essential and why we need to have it. And I will admit that's something I've learned during the council term. I also want to point out that there genuinely has been, during the consultation process, feedback was received from community members and it has been heard and changes have been made. And I think that is, you know, it's important to recognise it's not like we're sitting down there right now having this meeting, but I guarantee there's someone down there tonight training for something or practicing something or playing on the playground. So we need to hear from the people using the space about what that needs to look like, what changes need to happen. And in this particular example, that has happened and we have made the changes to it because of that. So consultation process is important and it's worth pointing out because we have things out for consultation right now. So please take the time to put the submissions in because we really do want to hear, we want to make these changes and we want to make sure we get it right. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Would any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Just before we do go to the vote, I have met obviously with some of the user groups down there and there is a lot of part of that precinct is quite run down. So we obviously have to have these plans in place. I often say we need to be shovel ready. We need to be ready when funding comes along. So at least we've got some direction with what the precinct should look like moving forward. All right, we'll now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, we now go to page 53, confidential management reports. Item 14.1, there is a recommendation, designation of confidentiality of information. Would someone like to move the recommendation on page 53? Thank you, Councillor Abdullah.
Yes, I would like to move the recommendation on page 3 as a motion.
Do I have a seconder? So on page 53, item 15, documents for signing and sealing, there was nil received. Councillors, on page 54, councillor reports, nil received. Item 16.1, councillor activities for April 2022. There is a recommendation on page 54. Would a councillor like to move a motion? Councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. I'd like to move the recommendation that the council receive and note the summary of councillors' community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Springs? Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Look, once again, Mayor O'Keefe, it's been a terrific month of activities out and about in the community and great representation by all fellow councillors. Really pleased to see that out and about. A couple of mentions, some firsts, if you like, some activities. One was the memorial statue, which was unveiled, the Brigadier Sir Murray Boucher, which was on the corner of Nixon and Welsford Street in Shepparton, which was the Anzac Eve. And depicting the Light Horse Brigade and the Battle of Beersheba, of course, and it's been very well received, and there's been a lot of people coming up, taking photos, reading the inscription of what it's about. So that was certainly a first, as was the official opening of the first People's Assembly of Victoria here in Shepparton. That was in the Queen's Gardens and across the road to the opening of the office there. And another one was the community iftar dinner. So Culture and Company, which is, I think, Mohammed and Samed Yassim, a part of that, and it was in celebration of Ramadan and the breaking of a day of fasting. So that was a terrific celebration, and again, another first for the community as well. So look, just some terrific opportunities for all councillors and for the community.
Thank you very much. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any councillor wish to speak against the motion? Councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor James?
Yes, thank you, Mayor O'Keefe. No, I just wanted to comment that it was really positive and encouraging to see at the Anzac Day ceremonies this year so many of our younger community at all of the ceremonies, and it was just really encouraging to see so many people there too as well. But more encouraging was the youth and young kids at our ceremonies, that's our future, to carry on that legacy from here on. So just to say, it was just great to see so many people out at both the dawn services and the services later on in the morning.
Thank you very much. Would any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? We will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. On page 56, item 16.2, council committee reports, nil received. Item 16.3, notice of motion, amendment or rescission, nil received. Item 17, urgent business not included on the agenda, nil received. Just prior to closing our meeting today, it is Volunteer Week, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the amazing and wonderful volunteers within our community. Last night we had the Volunteer Awards, and I would like to note Bill Brown on being successful as our long-term volunteer. Now, he was an award recipient last night. Bill's over 35 years of volunteering, as many people do within our community. So you don't go unnoticed. We're very grateful for the support, and I encourage everyone or anyone to think about volunteering, because it's what can make such a difference to our community. So on that note, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.